Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Hardscape Growth Show. I'm your host, Alex from Techoblock, and today we're joined by Brad and Phil from Newcastle Lawn and Landscaping. They're in Pennsylvania, and funny story, I actually met Phil at our Hardscaper Summit event in King of Prussia just a little bit earlier this year, and we got to talking about how they've been successful in attracting and retaining people and building a strong team. And we said, you know what, we should really just have an episode of the podcast dedicated to this and talk with you, Phil, and talk with you, Brad, who is one of the owners at Newcastle, about what that really means, what that looks like in the day-to-day operation of the business, and kind of what impact it has had overall for you guys. So first of all, thank you very much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks for having us.
Before we get started, why don't we do a little bit about yourselves? I guess we could start with you, Brad. You're one of the owners. How many owners are there? And before we got started here, you said you don't really know what you do. So I'll give you a second chance to maybe describe and tell the people what you do.
We do have two owners here at Newcastle, 50-50 partnership. I know I told you I don't know what I do. The biggest thing for me is that my people do everything. I'm the support staff. I'm taking away obstacles. I'm trying to lead us in the right direction and really just cheerleading for our people. And that's my main job, and making sure, again, we're going in the right direction. I just recently became 50% owner. I actually started in the company when it was 15 years ago. I started on a hardscape crew, really as a glorified laborer. They hired me to be a supervisor, but they really didn't have anybody to supervise. It was just me and a couple guys, and really I knew that there was an opportunity here for ownership, and I just worked my butt off, and it's the hardest I ever worked in my life when I started here, and worked my butt off and worked my way up to minority ownership about 7 years ago. And then just recently one of my partners retired, and we bought the shares last year to become 50-50 owner with my partner now, Brian Kukro.
Oh, that's well, congratulations. And that's a fun story, because I think that gives you a unique perspective on what it means to build a good team and to have good people around, because you really started at an entry-level position and had to grind your way up the whole decade and a half that you've been there. Phil, you're on the design side. You want to tell us a little bit about what you do on a day-to-day basis?
So my daily role, basically, my main focus is hardscape design. I work real closely with one of our other designers. Trisha has a great expertise on plant knowledge, so we kind of bounce back and forth between each other with how we get our designs together. I also have a big part in our marketing role here at Newcastle, as far as our imaging, branding, and all aspects of marketing. I started here, it would be 10 years ago, April 1st. I walked in here on a snow day with a resume and said, "You guys looking for anybody to hire?" And a few guys were in the office. They took a look at my resume, kind of got the ball rolling from there. I came into the company as a foreman. I was in that position for a few years, and gradually worked into the construction supervisor role, which then I oversaw all our crews. But I always had a passion for design. And that's kind of I knew that's where I wanted to end up. So lots of communication with Brad over the years, and this is my goal, and we kind of set a path for that, and finally got me into that role. So that's how I ended up here.
If I could step in on that, Alex, just real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So Phil came to me, how many years ago was that, Phil, when you came to me about the design role?
I'm in it 2 years full time, a year learning on it. So probably 5.
So
yeah.
So as we were growing, I mean, when I first started, we were 400 in revenue. We're going to be at 10 million this year.
Wow.
When Phil came to me, he's talking about the design position. He's like, "You know what, Brad? I know there's never going to be a spot for just a design person." I'm like, "You know what, Phil? Let's talk this one through." And what I did, I said, "Phil, show me you want it. Like, just show me you want it." So he came in Saturdays, Sundays. He was working 12-hour days, just to learn Vistera and really get that whole program. And he showed me he wanted it, and look at him now. Like he's our designer. He has Trisha. He manages Trisha, but he has an intern as well. Like, and we're looking to hire more people too. So us as a company, constantly growing, constantly giving somebody an opportunity. As long as they want it, we're going to find a way to make it work.
I love that. That's I mean, that's been my experience here at Techoblock too, and I think that's what makes good companies great companies, and that's what helps them separate themselves from other, not just their competitors, but like competitors in a marketplace for doing business, but also that differentiates themselves as employers. And it makes a difference when people feel like they find a home, and as they grow and evolve, you know, they can find their little niche within the company to do what they do best to contribute, and that's a great example of that. So we're having this conversation today because of exactly that. Phil, when I met you, you were saying a little bit about that story and how you're in this position today. When we were getting ready for the show, Brad, you were saying that your passion in running this business, like, yeah, you're in the landscape industry, but your passion isn't necessarily landscapes. Do you want to expand on that a little bit?
To be honest with you, if I went out and tried to do a hardscaping job right now, people would just blow me away because I wasn't even that good when I was in the field, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But yeah, my passion is 100% people. I actually just spent the last 2 days talking to ninth graders in a local high school, just trying to build them up. I did some mock interviews with them. But my whole thing is just seeing people grow, really that follow our core values, people growing and just instilling within them faith and giving them a path to succeed. And I guess it's a passion of mine because I wasn't really given a chance when I was younger. I was kind of labeled, not so smart, and heck, Phil probably doesn't want me to say this, but I did fail the 7th grade, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me because again, through my younger years, I was just into trouble. I was hanging out with the wrong crowd, and I just built off of that, and there's always been a drive in my belly to help people. And it's just funny because landscaping was my passion. It still is. But working at Newcastle and just growing people, man, it just became my 100% passion. And then also working with a CFO that we had at the point when I started, and then also a mentor. I have mentors my entire life. If you don't have a mentor, you gotta get a mentor, somebody you can look up to and listen to and let them spill their experience into you so you don't have to go through the same challenges, same problems that they went through, and it's a quicker pace to success. But again, people making sure that they have the right path and being there for them if they have struggles personally, professionally, whatever. It's just really, really important to me, and I'm very passionate. It's my heart, for sure.
Was that something that was always like that?
You know what my mom says, the one that sang "Happy Birthday" on not my birthday. She always said that I had it. Like it was just something about me that I was just a caring person. So I don't know if it was bred into me or something happened, in my childhood. But it's always been something that everywhere I was at, even before Newcastle, like I'm just trying to help people grow. It just turned into a career, really.
And how did that first manifest itself at Newcastle? Since you started as a quote-unquote supervisor.
Yeah. I think once we started bringing in like better people, we back in the day, not to knock anybody, but we weren't really following our core values. And we weren't following who we are as people, so the people we're bringing in are just kind of all over the place. I think once we started, like Dan, our operations manager, he started at the bottom too. I mean, he came in, he was a laborer, he came from the Air Force, 4 years in the Air Force, didn't know anything about construction, and just took him under my wing, and now he's our operations manager. I think that's Dan, when he started, it kind of really got me to think, you know what? I need to start building these younger guys up to take my place eventually, in which he did. And it was a struggle for me to let go of construction because that was my passion. but now I'm helping run everything, even though I don't do much. But I'm allowing him to take over, and but it was a hard thing for me to let go of construction, because it is 100% was my passion, still is, but people are above that right now.
We used to have a joke here, Alex, that someone's got to die in order to move up. We're like, when's Brad going to kick it so we can start moving up? And I think Brad's absolutely right. Once he saw that and started that process, it just trickled down, and then we all started moving up.
So,
and even one thing I want to jump back when Brad said about like helping people and all that. At the beginning of this year, I was probably the last person in the company that you would have thought was going to have an intern. But I looked at it, I was like, you know what, this could be a pretty cool opportunity for myself and for the intern. He came in here, knew nothing about our business, knew nothing about what we do. He does have an interest in mechanical engineering. So we thought, well, how can I apply this to what we're doing? So got him on some training videos. He 100% can go right into Vistera now. He can import blueprints. He can build the houses for me ahead of time and get that step rolling, so we can just roll right in. So it is a really cool feeling to look back and be like, wow, he's growing, and he's going to come on part-time for the summer and continue to do that for us. So
it's I would agree that it is a cool feeling when you can see that they're learning, they're growing, they're applying the things that you're trying to teach them, and then all of a sudden you see them doing the thing on their own. You're like, man, it's working. I can work on this thing now.
Right.
I do tell all my supervisors that are up and coming to coach Little League, coach something with like kids, because they're not going to quit. They don't know anything. They're not going to quit. You screw up, and you'll look like an all-star anyway. The parents start yelling at you, but that really helped me, get out of my own way. Really, as I started coaching soccer, and really, our estimator now, he was my assistant coach for soccer, and that's how he came on. And it was just really cool to see the kids grow up, and he just translate. Really, people are people. They all have emotions. They all need something. And if you start with the little people, then you can start working with the big people.
The little people are maybe less complicated?
Yes.
Right.
So you can work the principles out and then build on that?
Try some stuff.
I think the other interesting thing with what you're saying, though, is like when you're coaching a team, it's the perfect example of how you have to be hands-off. You cannot go on the field. You can't go kick the ball. Right. So you have to help them understand like what the vision is and how we're going to do this and who plays what role. And if you're not doing that, then you'll never win a game and they won't learn anything. So you have to get good at that. And it's very much the same in business if you're in some kind of different leadership role. Whether it's like Phil, the role that you're in, where you have maybe one person on your team plus an intern, like you can't be doing all the drawings for them, because if you are, well, then why are they there? You're just doing the drawings.
Right.
So I'm curious, like, Brad, when you're saying that it was kind of when you started living by the core values, when the company started operating by the core values, that all of a sudden the right people started showing up and the right people started thriving in the organization. I'm curious, from Phil's perspective, what are some of those core values and what impact do they have on your role in the company?
The biggest one for me is, we care. The fact that, Brad was willing to take the time and hear me out, and come up with a plan, showed me that he cared, and, it was something that could become obtainable at that point. So caring is definitely the biggest one.
And for Phil, determined to improve. That's another one of ours. And that's not just personally, that's professionally too. And I want to see both. I want people improving themselves personally in their personal lives. And I also want to see them, just getting better in their professional lives, and determined. That's a big word for me, because I'm one determined person. If I need to step in and throw some stuff around once in a while. I don't anymore, but I used to. Sometimes you just gotta, I call it a hard reset, because we get it, you get off the rails and we lose focus. But I look to see who is super determined to make a difference, whether it be in their personal or professional or both. But I'm always looking for that improvement.
What are the other values? So we care, determined to improve,
and good attitude. That's all. Very simple. And everybody mocks me because I say not a great attitude, just a good attitude.
Okay.
Well, I don't want a bunch of people walking around fake and, just ha 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 ha, just laughing. That's not, and really good attitude. Like, listen, we all have bad days, but are you throwing other people under the bus? Are you taking responsibility for what happened? Are you playing the blame game? And that's what I think as far as a good attitude. Man, as soon as you walk in our front doors, and I can say it because I'm the owner, but we've said it just with new hires. You're like, man, this is life-changing. I have a salesperson that's been with us for a year and a half. He said we changed his life. That's what gets me, and it's all because we all have fun. Do we have bad days? Yes, we do. Do we argue? Yes, but it's a healthy argument. Mm-hmm. I don't know everything. I'm listening to people, and we have back and forth exchanges. That's healthy. You want to have that. And I surround myself with people that think different than me. I don't want somebody that thinks exactly like me, or else we'd be out of business.
So can we talk about that? Because that's a mindset shift that a lot of people need to have happen before they feel comfortable having people who think differently around them, especially in a smaller company. Like in a big company, it's normal. You're going to have all kinds of different people from different backgrounds who are going to have different perspectives and different approaches to challenges or to opportunities. But in a smaller company, how many employees do you guys have now?
We range from 68 to 75, depending on the season.
And if we go back that 7 to 10 years when these shifts were starting to happen, how many people were you then?
Probably about 30-ish.
Okay. So and this includes lawn maintenance side to the business too, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Correct.
So there's a lot of people on that side, I guess?
Yeah, we got lawn maintenance, we have trees, lawn apps, PHC. I mean, we have enhancements. We're diverse.
Okay. So when it comes time to bringing people into that, I guess we'll call it that inner circle, or maybe, I don't know how you want to describe it in terms of a visual, but let's say in that inner circle and you're getting those differing opinions, those very different backgrounds, how do you deal with that? How do you prepare for opening the door to these people who completely contradict the way that you may want to do things?
I think it starts with the interview process. So when I interview people, I don't really even have a job description. I just want to get to know them. And, my sister's our office manager, and she gives me a little grief for not having job descriptions because now I'm hiring office staff, and she's like, people need to know what they're doing, and they do. But when I personally bring people in, or even Dan or anybody else, we're doing a phone interview by one of my, what do we call it now? Culture. It's not Culture Club anymore, Phil. What's it called?
I don't know that we settled on an actual name. We're still going with Culture Club right now.
Culture Club. We created this. We do the DISC analysis. I don't know if you ever heard of it. DISC.
Yep.
So
do you want to say what those stand for, so those not familiar understand? D is you want to go? Go for it.
Go ahead.
Neither of us wants to step in it, right? D is.
I think I got it, but go ahead.
Yeah, I just went over it yesterday, and go ahead. You guys go.
We'll do it as a team. D is for dominant personality. I is for influence.
Yep.
So main difference is D is I know what we have to do. I'm going to take charge. Let's do it this way. Influence is trying to bring everyone together and kind of almost a democratic approach to getting things done. S, if I'm not mistaken, is stability. They don't steadiness. They don't like change. They want their routine. And then C is conformity, right?
It's more of the details.
Yeah, the attention to details, following the rules, following processes. And everyone is a different level of each one of these 4 traits.
Yes.
Okay.
So our Culture Club is made up of I's, the influencers. So they're a high I. So I think we have 10 or 12 people. The reason why I set this up is because our core values, how I want the company, or how we want the company to grow, I don't think was getting down the ranks. So, and then I started thinking, we were at our yearly meeting, and one of my guys in my leadership team said, Brad, I don't know if something happened to you, I don't know what would happen to the company. Well, as an owner, that's an awful feeling. You know, I always, if something happens to me, I want to make sure that my vision, everything that I believe in, continues to go. And that's when the Culture Club formed. And I even played Boy George. I don't know if I can say his name, but the music at the beginning of the meeting. And I'm sorry, Phil, you're going to kill me for this. But I was so excited about it. And we got set up. And I really think it's going to help the flow down and really take care of everybody. Because even our work staff, like we have different nationalities, genders, like just getting everybody together and on the same page. I mean, you go to a picnic and you have one group of people on one side and one group on the other side. Like that's not
a
right.
team.
Like, well,
yeah, you got two teams.
Yeah, so that's kind of our thing right now, and we just instilled that group, and I really think that's going to help us out. But again, like when I'm at the interview process, I'm first just trying to figure out how the person is, and I'm just asking a bunch of questions, and it's random questions. I don't have anything set. I'm kind of a fly by the seat of your pants just to get the feel of them. And once I think that they're a good fit, or through the phone interview, then they'll go to the second interview. But we got to weed out the people that are just out to, everybody wants to make money, but if you don't have passion, if you don't want to be a part of something, like you're probably not going to fit here. And I think it's really been a really good thing that we've done with the disc and everything else, and knowing where do people line up. How can we put people in the right position once we hire them, that they have differing views. So my sister's a CS. I'm an ID. I hate rules. Don't tell me what to do. I'm going to break the rules that the CS wants to put in place. So, but in the office manager role, you absolutely have to follow rules. You can lose your butt, all over the place. So, super important to have different people in different roles, but you don't want to typecast them either. People can change. That just because what your test is doesn't mean that that's the way you're going to stay. It just means that you might be happier in a different role. And really, we move people around in different roles to suit their needs, like Phil. Going from a construction supervisor to a designer, it's been his dream, and we were able to fulfill that, and now he's growing in that position.
And that's an awesome evolution too, right, Phil? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know we were going to talk about this the other way, but when Brad started realizing this about like how we need to change the culture and get the right people, there were two books that we all were kind of asked to read. The first one was Extreme Ownership, which I know you talked about that one before.
Yep.
And the other one was called Traction. And it's funny because like with Traction, I listened to it on Audible, and as you're listening to this, you can totally pick out the people in your company and either think, yep, that's them and they're in the right role, or they're the right person, they're in the wrong seat. For me at the time, I was the right person in the wrong seat because my direction was just going a different way, and it was starting to show.
Can we expand on that a little bit? I'm curious, like, what that meant to you. So you're at this point in time, you're a construction supervisor.
Yep.
And the boss says, "Okay, guys, we got to check out these two books because we need to do something about how we're running the business, how the culture is." Whatever. I don't know how that was. Maybe you want to fill in on what was said.
Yeah, it was kind of like that. Like, hey, guys, we want you to read this book. And, me being a construction guy, and, I also have a degrry in graphic design, so I had the artistic side of it. Yeah. But the majority of my career was out in the field, either excavating or building hardscape. So
what was your first reaction? Yeah, okay, go. You're gonna say, yeah.
Like, you want me to read a book? Yeah. Like, really?
Yeah.
And, and I'm, I can be that half glass full guy, because I like to always look at the other side of things. And so I think Extreme Ownership was first, and I mean that was really good because it just really gets you thinking about things. But I think for me it was Traction that really, when you start thinking about things and you listen to it, it was just the perfect timing where like I was beginning to not enjoy what I was doing because I knew I wanted to start. Obviously, I was getting older, so I wanted to get out of the field by a certain age, so that had part of it. But you know, as the company was growing, so were the numbers. I'm not a numbers guy. I'm a creative guy. So I could start to see there, like, okay, I don't want to focus so much on the numbers and what my department's responsible for, and, you know, so on and so forth. I want to create. So that's what started it. And, you know, after reading that, it really was like, at least I felt I'm the right person for the company, but I'm in the wrong seat. And it showed to others.
And really, Alex, how we started that whole EOS system, and you know, Gino Wickman's the one that wrote the book, and I know he pulled some things from different books and created his own system. There's implementers out there across the United States and Canada. You know, we decided to self-implement. We decided to self-implement in 2018. It was our worst year ever. We relied on the H2B program for our mowing, and 2 weeks before the mowing season started, 25 guys got denied to come work for us. So our entire mowing division was non-existent. So we had to replace our entire mowing division, 25 people, in 2 weeks, and it was a bit of a mess. But through that whole process, we're like, man, we're not going to go through this again. Like, we've got to get our stuff together. Let's get this going. And myself and my operations manager, Dan, started working on the system and getting the leadership team together. So we picked a leadership team, and we just met same time, same place every week, came up with issues to solve. If you read the book, you'll know the issues are the biggest thing.
And this book that you're talking about is the Entrepreneurial Operating System?
It's traction.
Okay, it's all okay. It's from that book.
Yep. So, you know, it's basically, it tells you a way to meet and how to solve issues. Back in the day, we would solve one issue a year. Now we're solving like 50 in a week. And when you solve, everybody thinks issues are bad. They're not. That's how you change. That's how you grow. So if you're only changing one a year, you're not going anywhere. You're spinning. So it gives everybody the opportunity to spill their guts. It's an honest conversation. There's no hierarchy. Everybody in there has the right to speak, and it's just, I don't want to get in the weeds, and maybe we do something else, but it really helped our company focus, because our communication was awful and our focus was all over the place. We thought we were focused on one thing, but then Johnny downstairs is focused on something else. It keeps everybody in line. Now, are we perfect? No. Are we trying to get to perfection? Yes, but you'll never get that, but we're trying. And now, so we set the leadership team up in 2018. 2018 was still our worst year ever. We hired like 80 people that year just to fill 25 spots.
That was also a year, though.
Rotating through, boom, higher. No, not working. That
was also a year, though, that the teamwork showed up, because when we were short on guys, we needed to get stuff done. I was mowing, Dan was mowing, Andy was mowing. Like, people just pulled together from other departments to, you know, keep things running and still doing their daily job.
So the core values started showing with the people who really wanted to make it work.
Right.
Yep. And it's funny, when you're in a crisis situation like that, you'll see who your team players are and who are the people that just want to bail, and you weed them out. And you know, it still was our worst year ever. We lost $350,000 that year. I say the $350,000 was a good training. We spent a lot of money on training, but the fact that we stuck with it, man, if we wouldn't have done that, 19 was our record-breaking year. So the following year was record-breaking. 2020 was record-breaking. 2021, we keep climbing. 2022, we are pushing for a record-breaking year. You know, it's a big goal, but we're gonna do it. But it all comes back to, because we stuck with it, and now each department supervisor has their own level 10 meeting, is what they're called, every week, same time, same place, where all the people in that department are able to say, hey, you know, what's going well, what's not going well, what's your issue, how can we solve that as a team? And it's just a really cool thing to get everybody involved, because everybody wants to be a part of something. You know, you go from the top to the bottom, everybody wants to be a part of something, and it gives them a voice, and it's really, really important.
And when everybody that's in that meeting knows they're at a good space and they're free to talk, you really start getting results. And there too, that was another one that I was a little optimistic about. Like, really, a weekly meeting? Like, and we're going to start it off with, hey, what's your good news? Like, let's just work. But once you're over that and you start to see the results, it's well worth it, you know.
Yeah, back in the day, any non-production time. I'm sorry, Alex.
No,
I told
good.
you sometimes I just
No. You're going exactly where I want you to go. Go for it.
Okay. Back in the day, any non-production time was like looked at as like a sin. You know, when I first started, first of all, we didn't have an office manager. We didn't have any office staff. We didn't even think we could hire like a part-time office person. So we finally hired a part-time office person. But that person, we're like, you got to plow snow. Like you can't work and not bring in dollars. You know, you think that, you know, overhead, you don't bring in dollars. Man, it's so wrong. Like our overhead's high right now. It is. But there's for a reason. I know that there's a growth spurt and you got to, man, it's the peaks and plateau. Like we're in a plateau right now, and we're absorbing a lot of overhead for the next growth spurt. I mean, we want to get to $25 million in 3 years. So that's
not
a
nothing.
Lot, but no, and it's a big climb. And, you know, you need that office staff to support, for customer support. So back in the day, you know, part-time, now admin, I mean, I bet you we have about 18, you know, with designers, salespeople, office staff, office manager, AR, AP, customer service. We have sales assist,
production
sales
assistant.
Managers. Yeah. So, you know, especially for the owners out there that, you know, you feel like you just can't hire that admin person because it's too expensive, you start putting a value on your time, all right? So you say you can't afford it. Start calculating the hours that you spent on some of that stuff and what's your time worth. You're the most expensive person in the company. You'll find out really soon that you can afford admin people and it's actually going to make you grow. You're not going to lose money. You can't look at the salaries that you're going to be paying out and say, oh, going to be out 40, 50, 60,000. No, that's not it. You're going to able to multiply yourself, be doing things that's more important for the company and the company's growth and people. So it is a hard thing to get to that step.
And I just want to challenge the last thing you said. Like, sometimes it's not that the thing that is being delegated or handed off to this other person is less important. It might just be something that you're not as good at. Like if you suck at the admin side of the business, get someone who loves that so you can go kick ass designing the jobs or building the jobs or selling the jobs or whatever your strength area is, because that's the thing that you do better than everyone else. So go play that role as often as you can. That's what's going to bring as much value as possible. But I think it's tricky because like most of the people listening to the show are not at the same scale that you are at. So if we had to dial it back years ago, where you were saying like you were at 400,000, now you're at 10 million, your goal is 25 million. But if we come way back to that 400,000, if you were in that position then, and you know what you know now from the benefit of all the experience and all the trial and error that has gone through it, what advice would you have for someone who finds himself in that position? Or what would you tell your past self at that point?
So thank you for correcting that too, Alex, because I would have been in a lot of trouble. So thank you so much for that. See, I get myself in trouble. It just happens.
I have a team too.
So what I would tell myself, so I'm a part of a couple of business groups as well. I would tell myself I should have gotten into a business group like right away. Because you think things are impossible until you find another business that actually did it that might be a little bit bigger than you. So we thought, you know, again, we had a CFO that was with us and we learned a lot through him and he helped us grow and we had to pay him. But we should have networked more. We should have gotten out. We would have gotten to this level a lot quicker. But I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. I'm glad things worked the way they did. But if there was advice to tell myself back then, it was get with other businesses. It doesn't even have to be in the same industry. I mean, my business groups I'm in are all different industries. And there's just everything ties together. It all comes back to people, really, in the grand scheme of things, people and numbers. And if you're around these other people that have gotten to that next level, you know, if you're at 400,000, why don't you go visit a company at 700,000, you know, or $1 million, or whatever your goal is. You know, we're constantly visiting other companies that are better than us to try to say, you know, let's take one or two more things and bring it back here, bring it back home. And even some of the tours and stuff we do at Newcastle, we bring companies in here and we go over the EOS system, we go over that whole thing and how we, you know, from the bottom up, how we grew. But we learn stuff from them. We have a company coming in tomorrow, Golden Wolf, and we're going to learn a lot from them, maybe even more than they learned from us. And it's just really cool to see that. And again, that's the advice I would give myself, is get into a group, visit some businesses, learn what they did different or what they do different to get you to that next level.
So let's shift gears a little bit. I think that's great advice, but let's shift gears a little bit because we have the unique opportunity here where, Phil, you're doing the designs, but you're also involved in the marketing. And I'm curious, does any of this or all of this play out in the approach to marketing, the way that you present the brand, either to future customers or to future employees?
I'm going to say yes.
Thanks.
No, and I say that like that because we're in the process of kind of switching gears over here a little bit. I think we're a little bit behind on the content of the industry and the YouTube and the Instagrams and stuff like that. So I'm a big follower of that stuff. I'm always watching things and, you know, picking things up. So yeah, I mean, most of our marketing has been like, hey, our backlog for this division's this low, let's shift dollars this way, and you know,
reactionary.
Right.
Yeah.
We did revamp the website a few years ago. We didn't rebrand the logo and the image, but we freshened it up. That kind of started the ball rolling with everything. But now we're kind of looking towards, most of our marketing is going to be kind of twofold. It's going to be appealing to future clients and then also as recruitment, you know. So based off of any, especially video or audio, anything, the goal is anything audio or video is to get it to be like, hey, I'd like them to come work for us, or hey, I want to go work for them.
So how do you want to do that?
And
yeah,
Alex,
go ahead.
It does go back to our core values. You know, our biggest thing with our Facebook page and everything else, it comes back to people. You know, our biggest engagement is people. So Facebook, YouTube, everything, just showing our people. And really that gives them a little bit of a boost too. So if you're doing a video of them, you know, it's, hey, these guys do care about me. And just the stuff we do in the community too. Like, listen, I fought with our marketing manager because I thought, you know, if you're helping the community, you're doing it because it's out of the goodness of your heart. It's not to build your brand. That should just happen. But what I notice is that if you are truly helping somebody, which we do, I mean, we do a lot of stuff in the community and we do broadcast that. The reason why we do that now is because, especially with the younger generation, they want to be a part of something. And if we're hiding that, they don't really know who we are as a company. And, you know, our whole thing is giving back. You know, even through the pandemic, I drove a truck for a local food bank 2 days a week. And again, I didn't want anybody to know about it, but Tricia's like, yeah, let's just do it. But when we met as a leadership team, we were like, listen, we don't know how the industry is going to go. We might not have jobs in 5 months, but we're going to give back to the community. We're going to do as much as we can. And really, it's just snowballed back to us. But that wasn't our intent. And that goes to the marketing and just our name is getting out now that, you know, people know that there's a movement here. It's not just about work. But obviously we want to do quality work as well, and that's why Phil with design and everything else is really important, you know, to attract people and also make sure that people know that we're the leader in the industry in our area.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it's tricky when you have to pick a lane, or you feel like you have to pick a lane with what you're communicating, what you're putting out there, because, you know, something you just said that made me think of this is, you care about the people and you want to see the people succeed, and it is very much about the people on your team, but it's also about getting the work done. And people want both. They want to feel that they're part of something, but they also want to feel that they're achieving something, that they're contributing, that they're building something. And in our industry, we're literally building something every day, which is great. But you have to be able to show that. So I guess I'm curious to see what it will look like, Phil, in terms of the content that will come out, because I think that what you're saying is smart in the sense that if you can put out content that sends that message that we are people who are a strong team that works together, that cares about each other, cares about supporting one another, and we build awesome things, right? Then that achieves both. That helps you get people who want to be part of that team, or that helps you get people that want to hire that great team. Right. And if you can achieve that, then you're winning. And that's I think that's a good lesson for anyone in the industry that's trying to grow right now. And honestly, you should be trying to grow with the way the industry is right now. Guys, there's so much that we could continue unpacking, and maybe we'll have to get into that stuff on another episode. But I just want to wrap things up and just go through some of the things and kind of summarize it with what we talked about, so everybody listening can take a few action items away from this if they want to apply it in their business or with their teams. We started just talking about how you're passionate about the people, and obviously this whole conversation has shown that. The growth of the company, what has led to that is really finding who people are, and that starts at the interview process with the questions that you ask and doing that profiling. You use the DISC profile. There are other profiling systems out there that exist, but the DISC profile, once you understand it, it really helps you understand who the person is in front of you and where they would fit in the construction of a team, not based on what their skills are, but based on who they are, what their attitude is, how they view the world, and how they approach situations. Put those two pieces of information together, and then you start really understanding who needs to sit where on the bus. And a great book that talks about who needs to be where on the bus and why that matters so much and how to get there is the book Traction. And in that book is where you discovered some of the other things, like building a leadership team, getting that leadership team to meet weekly, to tackle challenges within the business. And Phil, you brought up how it's important that in those meetings, people are free to say what needs to be said to advance the interests of the company. Yep. You're not guarding your words, afraid to offend someone. It's, listen, we're on the same team. We want to win together. We got to do this. You got to pull your socks up. I got to do this. This guy's got to do that. And we're going to do it together, and that's why we're here.
And for some people, that's real easy to break through, and other people's not so much. But once everybody does it, it's a game changer.
But I think that's from my own experience, if I can contribute to this, is like once you understand that DISC profiling of the people around the table too, you know how to talk to them. You know, like I'm a high D, high I, low S, low C. Like, yeah,
that's me.
Like, just tell me what you want to say. Like, I don't know why we're beating around the bush, but there's other people that like you cannot just come at them like that. So you need to be able to understand that in those settings too. But since you had that blow up in 2018, well, I say blow up, it's not really, you know, it was.
That's all right.
It was a painful situation. External factors forced your team to basically turn over, and based on the number of people you had to hire, basically turn over 4 times. So in that time, you're like, we got to figure this thing out. And this is where you put yourself in this, you forced yourself to try something different, and lo and behold, it worked. So I think that there's a ton of valuable information here. The 2 books that came up, Traction being one, Extreme Ownership is another one. Those 2 seem to be 2 of the things that have defined that turnaround for the company and taken it to where it is now. The last thing I want to call out is that realizing that the non-production hours are equally, if not more important than the production hours, because they contribute, they're the steering wheel for the ship. So it's great you have a powerful motor, but if the steering wheel doesn't work, I don't know where this thing's going.
And I think with that too, one other book that's really good for our supervisors that they read is Leadership and Self-Deception. Especially if you're blaming, if you're in a blame game or you think it's somebody else's fault, read that book and you'll realize it's how you're presenting yourself, what you're doing that's creating the situation that's in front of you, and that helped me in my home life as well. So it's a really good book.
Very cool. 3 books, bonus book at the end there.
Yeah. I'm not getting any royalties.
Brad will have a book out in another couple years, so we can recommend that one later.
That's good. That's good. I think there's a lot of people in this industry that should take the time to write a book, because their experiences, like you're saying, networking with people, talking with people, like there are so many smart people. I mean, that's why we started this podcast, but there's so many smart people in this industry that have so much to share. Maybe you should write a book.
Don't encourage
Phil,
him.
And Phil can design the cover and market it.
Right.
Yeah, it's a 5-year process. I'm on year 5, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, nothing gets things done like a deadline.
Yeah.
You guys have anything else you want to add here?
No.
Me personally, again, it just comes back to the people, and I'm always listening. I mean, those aren't the only books I listen to. I mean, it's Audible. I'm constantly listening to books. Whatever you're feeding your brain, whether it be negative or positive, that's the results you're going to be putting out. And I couldn't be more strong in my point in that you got to be feeding yourself the right things and just making sure you're making a difference. And really, as an owner, I know I'm changing people's lives, or I'm in control of a lot of lives. Like, it's a lot of responsibility. So I better be growing. I better be getting better myself, and making sure that I'm following what I'm trying to preach out there.
I'd say as an employee, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, you're probably not in the right spot. If you're not enjoying what you're doing every day, you're in the wrong spot.
Amen.
Well, I think we all enjoy what we're doing, because we just spent the past 45 minutes talking about how great it is. So I want to thank you guys for joining us on the show today. If anyone wants to reach out to either of you, pick your brain, do that networking that you're saying is so important, what's the best way to reach you?
Good, right.
For me personally, it's my email. And like I said, we bring companies in to tour and talk more about this. And I do some consulting as well. So I'm here to help whoever I can, wherever I can. But the email, b.stephenson@newcastle94.com.
That's Stephenson with a PH.
Right.
Yeah.
PH. Yeah, the right way you spell Stephenson, not
Yep.
B. Sorry if I offended any B's out there.
And probably for me the
Phil?
same way. Best way is email. My email is
Yep.
p.neri, and as in Nancy, ERI, @newcastle94.com.
Awesome. Well, once again, guys, thank you very much.
Yep, thanks, Alex.
It's been another episode of the Hardscape Growth Show. And until next time, everyone, work hard and pave harder. We'll see you next week.
Cool.